Greetings, family. We have a special production today. This is Black Eyes TV. This is Mr. Riggs, Terry Riggs, UK tour guide to the rest of the world. And I'm with my co-host.
So, once again, Black Eyes TV, Richie, the man himself on camera, showing that face now. What's good? Big up for joining us. It's been a powerful few days of African mindset being amplified to the most. You know, talking about trade, talking about repatriation, like covering some big speakers across the diaspora. And, you know, I'm really happy and proud to have this sister come and join us. And we got our family tree in the house, Mr. Dean. But I won't go too far, and I'm going to hand it back over to Riggsy. He's going to introduce the sister. He's going to introduce our brother. And then we're going to start the conversation. Peace to everybody that's in the chat. You know the routine. Hit that like button. Share this video. Get the information out there. So, Riggsy, let's begin this conversation. Introduce our people, and let's get this on.
Okay. So today's a big one. As you know, he has said that we've gone from African Liberation Day to the Alliance, Exodus Alliance, and it's been going through scholars, people that are actually doing the work around the world, around the globe, as we are now becoming international united. But before I even go into that business, I'm going to introduce our brother and make him introduce himself. My brother, Dean Okai.
I'm surprised you didn't let our sister go first.
No, because
in any case,
we treat her as the queen. You know,
absolutely. And the men go outside to make sure it's safe first. So I'm Dean Okai, the founder of ADPAC. ADPAC is a lobbying and advocacy organization, but we also work in the areas of trade and industry. And what we're doing is creating the digital backend that connects us globally as an African diaspora. Our impact is as a national organization, and we're creating a turnkey system that's modular and scalable that can be duplicated in any nation where you find the African diaspora. What our strategic advisory committee are doing at the same time is identifying international delivery partners so we can create the direct pathways for our people to be able to repatriate smoothly and cohesively and make sure they purchase land once from the right people with the right advisors on the ground. So we're going to get into it on the show, and without any more, we can introduce the next guest.
Okay, we have this special honor, special guest, all the way from Washington, D.C. to all the way to Ghana. And she is a phenomenal woman doing phenomenal work. As we did yesterday, as the, what they call it, Exodus Alliance, and her business and what she does, I'm going to allow her to introduce herself to you because, you know, there's so much things that she does, and, you know, it would be best to come from the person herself. Introduce yourself.
Greetings, brother. Thank you very much. And thank you so much for inviting me to come on the show to tell our beautiful Black family about the works that have been done on their behalf with the Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program and the Exodus Alliance and those member organizations. I am Sister Yaa. My government legal name is Tanya Safir Ankama. I'm an attorney by profession. But currently I've left the legal profession to pursue the work of the people, to work in service of the people. And I created the NGO called the Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program, which seeks to act as a business incubator to help provide the assistance that our people need to repatriate back to the continent of Africa in a way that is sustainable, because my observation was that our people are really struggling to go unless they are, you know, already financially wealthy, financially independent, or already, you know, and they're receiving, you know, their pensions and things like that, Social Security. So I created this program because a lot of people who haven't reached retirement age in the diaspora were expressing their desire to go to Africa, but they just didn't have the resources. There wasn't anything in place to provide that type of support and you know, that they need. This is to make it sustainable, to make it a reality. So it was an idea that I've been thinking about for years, and I finally just did it because I realized that, you know, I can't wait for other people to do it. It was given to me for a reason to do the work, and so I'm going to do it. And then couple months back, I was approached by Brother R.J. Mati of Made in Africa Project in Senegal and Al-Kibalan City. He approached me and several other organizations with an idea to form an alliance because all of us are doing the work of the people, and it made more sense for us to come together and work collectively to get this work done, to get our people home, than, you know, each organization trying to, you know, you doing over here, you're doing over there, you know, but we're all basically trying to do the same thing. So it just made sense that we come together and form an alliance. And so it was a Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program, along with Made in Africa Project, Al-Kibalan City, Basani, which is the Black Star Action Network International in Sierra Leone, the UNIACL under the leadership of the Honorable Cleo Miller Jr., and the State of the Africa Diaspora, the ECO 6, the economic region of the State of the Africa Diaspora. So we came together and formed the Exodus Alliance. I'm very excited. The people are really happy. The reception that we're getting, I mean, from all over the world, that our people have said with a very loud voice that we want to go home. And that's what we're trying to do, brother. We're trying to fulfill the promise, the dream of what our dear ancestor Marcus Mosiah Garvey was attempting to do before he was sabotaged.
Okay. You know, it's really big, and this is something that is really needed in them factors of what you're doing. I wanted to ask, right? Like, you know, a lot of people ask this question: is how do I just kick myself to taking that action? But we're going to look into your story. What actually ignited you to say, you know what, enough's enough, I'm doing this?
Well, I realized more than a decade ago that we were spinning our wheels trying to live amongst people who despise us and want us to die, okay? Who don't like us and don't mean us well. And we, you know, for more than 400 years have tried to live, you know, with these people. But it's just, you know, at some point when I started, I'm a mother, and now I have grandchildren, and we're still dealing with the exact same issues that my great-grandparents were dealing with these people. So at some point you have to say to yourself, enough is enough. I mean, just give up on this idea that we can live in peace with these people, because we can't. I refuse to have my grandchildren growing up dealing with voter suppression and police brutality, which is just the modern day slave catchers. I refuse to have my children being discriminated against in housing when they go to purchase cars and getting charged higher interest rates just because they're Black. I just don't accept that as a reality, that my great-grandparents were fighting this thing. My grandparents, my parents were marching with Martin Luther King, you know, and now as teenagers, my parents were fighting in Mississippi against segregation and discrimination and all of these things. And now here we are. I have my oldest child is 30 years old, and the same exact thing is going on. And I just say, you know what? We do not have to continue to take this. I accept, Yaa Asantewaa, me, Tanya, Sophia Ankama, I accept that these people are not going to change. I have 500 years of history to prove me right. I can shut anybody down based on the historical record and currently what's going on. These people are not going to change. So in light of the fact that they are not going to change, now we have to accept that as a reality and just do what's best for us as a people. And what's best for us is to get away from them. In all areas of human activity, we need to separate from them. You know, so that is the reality of it. When practicing criminal law here in the United States, and that's when I really, really, really realized, wow, we are up against something. You know what I mean? And we have to just get away from these people. And so that was that was it for me. I said, you know what? I left the United States, and I went to the Caribbean. And I was in the U.S. Virgin Islands for 7 years working as an assistant attorney general. And then from there, I always knew I was going to go to Africa, even before I went to the Virgin Islands. But at the time, I just couldn't see how I was going to make it, you know, to Africa, or I didn't know anybody there. I just, you know, so I said, well, you know what? Just let me get away from these white folks. And I went to the Caribbean. So I went down there. And then I started traveling from the Caribbean. Actually, I started going to Africa, to Ghana specifically. And then I met my husband there, traveling there. And then the rest is basically history. And we've started some businesses over there. And now, you know, we wanted to get our money stuff going, our business, you know, so when we do get over there permanently, that we just, you know, everything is already in place. So that's what we've been working on. And now the house is under construction. So I'm going to leave before the house is finished, because I just can't take it anymore. I've been here with my husband because he's here working, but he's going to have to just, you know, me and the kids going to get on out of here as soon as they open up the borders. I just don't want to be here with these people.
Okay. So, you know, in understanding, Dean, can you hear me?
Sir.
Clearly. You know, I want people to get an understanding as well, in your perspective, of what has kind of sparked you to do what you're doing. Because, you know, I want people to kind of see two sides of the coin of borders, you know, so that they can have a clear understanding of what you do and what you're about. But what has sparked you, Dean?
Well, to be fair, it's not two sides of the same coin. This is heads and heads.
Yeah.
I joined Panther UK May 7, 1993, when Stephen Lawrence was murdered. On May 8, 1993, when I was green as grass at 18 years old, I went on a march and was hit in the eye with a truncheon. So that was my baptism of fire in a political movement that gave me the basis of my political education. Now, I was always an entrepreneur because I had moved out at 18 and was running a business. It happened to be a pirate video business that taught me money management, distribution, marketing, and credit control. However, over the course of 27 years, I kept myself quiet for 24 of those, just doing business. I didn't seek any public platform. And when the proliferation of murders of our cousins in the States got so bad, I said, in the dearth of clarity of voices, I wanted to create a clarity. Now, I've been saying exactly the same thing about establishing an institution, the tenets of powernomics, which would affect us not in the United States, but in Britain, in France, in Germany, in Belgium, in Holland, indeed in any of the African nations where we happen to be, because they would serve the people's interests. So It went through a number of incarnations, the last being the think tank, which is the solution room. And now we've formulated the entity, which is an institution of its own, which is a democratic institution. Although I'm the founder, I'm not the chairperson. I live in the strategic advisory committee because we have to play to our strengths and let everybody play to their strengths. Now, this entity, ADPAC, the African Diaspora Political Action Committee, acts as our government. And we have our own council and committee, which is a team of 14 currently and growing to execute all of the areas. Those areas are education, economics, justice, politics, trade and industry, employment, and media. Now, across those areas, you've got people who are the preeminent experts in their field. So as soon as you're talking, I'm smiling because I want to introduce you to my colleague, Yvonne Witter, who's the head of trade and industry, because we're seeking to create those trade routes. Let's forget about the China Silk Road. It's our role as the diaspora to create those trade routes. And in terms of Britain leaving Europe, there are no import or export tariffs between Britain and Ghana anymore. So now we are obligated to create a manufacturing district in Ghana that distributes straight to the UK because we've got no import or export tariffs. The beauty of that is Ghana is a macro economy. So when we take our economics and invest in manufacturing, that money goes 5 times as far. Here, where you'd be paying somebody £400 a week or £500 a week, you'd be paying somebody $400 or $500 a month. That fits comfortably within the national economic structures. So, and you're talking about a middle-class income. So in understanding that, and it's just demystifying all of those processes, sometimes there's a lack of clarity around that. Now, moving forward, we know that every economist of note has evaluated that 50% of the world's population will be African and under 25. That means we're obligated on our side of the fence at this time in history to create all of the sustainable employment that they're going to be able to benefit from in 20 odd years' time. So if you're looking at that now, what do we need on the continent? We need blockchain technology because that's going to allow us to circumvent the development processes that Western nations have gone through. And we'll just skip straight ahead to blockchain. That's going to do 2 things. That's going to deliver us economic security and communication security. One beautiful thing that you said, Sister Yaa, is that we have to produce everything that we consume. So one of our initiatives under Afritech is an incubator that we're definitely going to partner with you because you'll get it going on the ground on your side, is a tech incubator to create an African operating system, just like Hawaii. They had the fortitude in the face of an established Android and iOS to create their own operating system. Now, people might think they did that for competition, which is one reason, but they also did it for security because it does 2 things. The first thing that it does is it ring fences your entity and it allows your nation of developers to create the apps that are going to serve that ecosystem. Now, can you imagine if we're creating the tech universities in Ghana? Now we're creating the Ghanaian MITs and we're working with preeminent people like King Nene Teta to create these universities of excellence in leadership and in tech leadership. We will identify our own Bill Gates so that we're not only creating those who can deal with the coding, but the CEOs. And one of our members, Paulette Watson, has got a software MBA. So she would be heading up that program on our side and connecting with you in building out all of the structures that are necessary to create that ecosystem. Now, we've got another partner in your pond, is in Florida, Daryl Speaks. So we have a cryptocurrency, not like the investment commodities, but to work as any currency like the pound, the dollar, the yen, the yuan. And that is going live for us to invest in from June 15th. So we are there. We have our ecosystems. We have the expertise. And the world is being made small by technology. But now we understand that we have to create all of our alternatives and replacements. So the operating system, which would go across mobile and PC, we need the African alternative. And then what we're doing is creating the sustainable employment, because on that side of the pond, they're going to create the apps. This is the future. They're going to create the future trillion-dollar entities. And I say trillion-dollar because the African diaspora is a 1.5 billion marketplace. Now, if you're dealing with a youth marketplace, because we're half the globe's population, and they're under 25. Can you imagine the opportunities that that's going to throw up? The economic opportunities when we are pulling our coders and those most encumbered with the intellectual capital to lay down those new algorithms that we need, not to contain us, but to sustain us and benefit us. You see, if we merge a social media app with our cryptocurrency, it's to control us, it's to free us from what they do, it's to enable us to work in a sovereign way. And every single thing that we do from this point on has to be around the thinking of making African diaspora people a globally protected group. Which means that our physical security has to grow at the same rate as our economics and influence. And that is why I love our brothers. And this is for another show, but I have to give him mention, Grandmaster Jay and the NFAC, because what they're doing is beautiful. And that is a training ground for our global physical security. So when you look at a group like Blackwater, we are perfectly capable of duplicating exactly the same to protect all of our commercial entities. You look at a structure, you reverse engineer it, you recruit the personnel, and you put it in place. And before you know it, you are in exactly the same position. And I'll finish up in saying this before I hand over. We live in a global race-based economy. We are the only ethnicity who doesn't recognize it and therefore aren't competing. As we start to compete and we start to align our institutions, we start to compete in a race-based economic system. And I'm telling you this much. As confident as I know my name is Dean Okai Sr. and I'm 6'2" and can talk for Britain and the rest of the African diaspora, we will surpass them economically and militarily.
Right on. Right on, right on. Ashe, brother. I'm with you.
Facts. Big facts.
So, Sister Yaa, in forms of your organization, I want you to give a deep in depth of what you do and what your organization does. Because so that the people and the family can have a better understanding of how we can work together and able to grow. So I'll leave the floor to you.
Okay. So what the Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program will do, because we're currently in phase 1, to be clear, we are in it's a grassroots movement. It can only work with the financial support of our people in the diaspora. Okay. So, but I can tell you that the people are very receptive and they are donating. And I am 100% confident that we will reach the goal because it is something that they want. Okay. But what we do, because the vast majority of our people, now this is not a program that's just for Black Americans or, you know, those in the UK or those that are English speaking. This aims to include our brothers and sisters in South America as well as the Caribbean. Okay, because we all are basically catching the same hail all over. So it's imperative that we put aside these things that, oh, well, you're from here and you're from Haiti or you're from this place. As far as I'm concerned, we all brothers and sisters, and we got to work together to get ourselves out of this 500-year mess. Okay, so what we want to do is provide our brothers and sisters who have been basically living hand to mouth on jobs, slave wage jobs, put them through a business training course to teach them how to run a business. Because a lot of our people just know how to work jobs, and that's part of the miseducation of our people, just working for these people and making them rich, and giving us just enough to have us keep coming back. You can't really quit. You know what I mean? So we want to put them through a business development course before they even reach the African continent, to teach them how to run a business, how to manage a organization, and then once they arrive. We also want to put them through a cultural integration, okay? Because we have been gone from home for many centuries. And a lot of us, we simply don't know how to be African anymore, to be quite frank with you. And so we have to be taught how to, it has to be, put back in our head who we really are as African people. And so that we integrate back into these communities effortlessly, hopefully, and that's the aim. We want to put them with adopted families in these communities so that they have someone to help them with the integration process. I had that when I was in Ghana, and it was very helpful because of my husband's family. Even though my husband was here and I was, over there with my kids, I had his family. So I had support. I had, things, if I needed to go somewhere and I needed someone to be with me, just who could understand the, local dialect and language, and just to make sure that everything went well. You need to be a part of a family unit if you're going to be leaving your friends and family on this side, so you don't feel isolated and alone. So you need a family, and we want to go through a vetting process and match people up with families on the ground. And then we want to provide housing for 6 months, a minimum of 6 months, and a monthly stipend for a minimum of 6 months. While we're doing that, we want to provide up to $40,000 to start a business. Our people cannot go to Africa looking for jobs. They have to go over there and be job creators. We have to start businesses. So what we want to do, because we want them to create jobs for the locals, like you mentioned, our brother mentioned before. We have a huge untapped young people who are looking for jobs on the African continent. And so when we go over there and create jobs, then we are able not only helping ourselves, but we're helping our brothers and sisters on the continent by employing them. And of course, we coming home to be with our people. We are going to be treating them better than the Chinese. We're going to be treating them better than the Lebanese. These people are doing horrible things to our people on the continent of Africa in the name of job, in the name of having some employment and work, and then they're abusing our people. So if we're there and we're being job creators, then guess what? They don't have to go work for these people and take this type of treatment. You know what I'm saying? So we want to go, like I said, through a whole holistic approach to repatriation. We don't want to just bring people over and be like, okay, here you go, figure it out. No, we're going to hold your hand until, you are completely sustainable. And then we will go and pick a new bunch of people and do the same thing over. We want to help them acquire their legal documents to be in the country. So if that's their legal residency and citizenship, if available at that time, as well as we will, make sure the right documents are filed for starting that business so that they're operating within the laws of that country. This also creates a tax base for these countries as we begin to bring in these people. and start these businesses up on the continent. So it's a win-win situation for our people and also for the communities in Africa in which we will be setting our people up.
Okay. Brother Rich, have you got anything you'd like to say?
You know what? I'm just listening to the practical nature of the setup. When you're talking about the loans and for different businesses, are there any particular fields that you're going to be focusing on in the first instances, like in the initial when you land, or is it open to as far as the mind goes and the imagination and skill set goes of the people?
It's open. We want to give people, our people have different skills. They have different, educational backgrounds and things like that. So it's open. We will, in the application process, be asking, what is your plan? We want to know if it's something that's viable, if it's something that even you haven't, because a lot of our people haven't been to the continent. So we want to have also our team in place that when people have an idea, we can help them develop that into something that will be successful on the African continent. So somebody asked, how much does the business training program cost? This is not, like I said, this is 100% a grassroots movement. Our goal, prior to me joining the Exodus Alliance, my goal was to get, and still is, to get 1 million of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora to contribute on a monthly basis a minimum of $1, or the equivalent of what $1 is in the UK, or whatever that is in Germany, or whatever that is in Canada. Because, my thing is, all of us can come up with 4 quarters every month to help ourselves, and a lot of people are giving more than $1, but I wanted to make it in a way that everybody can feel like they can contribute and they can be a part of this movement. So I asked for $1, and I believe that we have far more than 1 million brothers and sisters throughout the diaspora who can give us a $1 to implement this exodus, right? $1 a month. So with that, we are providing those services. So there are no additional fees or costs associated with that, assuming that we reach our financial goal. Now with Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program, our goal was to repatriate a minimum of 100 brothers and sisters from the diaspora every 6 months and give them our full attention and support for 6 months. Before, because we feel within 6 months they will be okay to stand on their own, after us engaging and participating and helping them for a full 6 months and providing all of the support that they need and helping them get that business up. Because when you don't have to worry about where you're going to live, you don't worry about how you're going to eat for 6 months, all I want them to do is focus on this business and making it, what it needs to be for them to be sustainable. And then from there, we go to another. But now that was and that still is the Sankofa's mission. However, when we joined with the Exodus Alliance, we say, we can do bigger, we can do better. As an alliance, coming together, we can do bigger, we can do better. So now we come together and we said, listen, let's go within 24 months. Our people need to give $1 billion, and we have it. You spend trillions every year on bull crap. So you can come up with $1 billion in 24 months. You know what I'm saying? For something meant to help you. You know what I'm saying? So with that, we want to be able to get 1 million families out. Now, the way we look at it is, once we get these families out and get them set up and get them secured and get them sustainable, then they themselves can reach back on this side of the pond and help their family members and help their cousins and help their friends and bring more people. But we got to get some over there and get them settled and get them situated and get them okay first. And then because we can't repatriate everybody. And we recognize that, although we wish we could, in the words of our ancestors, Ida B. Wells, if I could wrap my people up in my arms and fly away with them, I would do it. But I can't take everybody. You understand what I'm saying? So what we're going to do, we want to get as many of them over there as we can and get them okay. We want to get food security in place. We want to get African-centered schools in place. We do not want to take our children from this hellhole of non-education, miseducation, and take them back to Africa to continue to be taught foolishness. Okay? You see what I'm saying? And I'm telling you right now, as somebody whose children were in school over there, their schools need to be revamped. And in Africa, it's a colonial educational system. It's totally jacked up. But that's why it's important for us who have been living in the diaspora with these people who know them better than, quite frankly, we know them better than our brothers and sisters on the continent. It's imperative that we get home, okay? And I am of the opinion that it has come down to it's a life or death situation now for us. So we have to come together, and we got to get our stuff together, and we got to, like the brother said, work together on all fronts. We have to protect ourselves when we get there. That's a whole nother thing. You know, when we get there, see, we are completely defenseless outside Africa right now. And this is why they're able to do the things to us that they do with impunity, with no repercussions whatsoever, you know. But we got to get ourselves back on the continent. Now, they might not have the best armies, they might not have the best navy, they might not, but with us over there, we can make them better, you know. We can help, we can contribute, we can bring our ideas. We have all these, myself included. I am a veteran of the United States Army here. You know how many brothers and sisters you have in the diaspora who served in these people's military service, who have that type of skill. So when you start talking about creating our own Blackwater and all these types of things, we can do it because we have those people who have, you know, who have done it for these people. So if they can do it for these people, surely they can come back home to Africa and do it for their own people.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally hear that. I totally hear that. I mean, let me ask you this. Since the program began, how much resistance have you felt from our brothers and sisters over there or from government? Because obviously we know that they're tied up in various deals. So was it difficult for you to get a foothold as far as any sanctions and stuff like that?
No, I haven't been approached by any of these people, but I'm pretty sure they're watching. And this is another reason why I'm very interested in the crypto, on how to move these funds around, because I know that these people can lock our money up and keep us from getting access to it. I mean, we see them do it with whole countries. They do it with Venezuela. They did it with Gaddafi. They do. So who's little old me? Us. You know, so we have to get smart about, and then, you know, I know people in business who try to move a large amount of money around, and they get flagged, their money get held up and things like that. So this is an issue that we definitely have to get our brightest on. Right now we're raising the money. We're not trying to move any of it yet. And it is my goal that every dime of this money be spent on the African continent. I'm not interested in spending one dime of it over here. You know what I'm saying? We're raising this money for the benefit of Africa and her children. So, but we have to get a way to get it over there without them interfering.
Most definitely. I guess this kind of feeds back to Dean. When you was touching on this earlier, when you was talking about the need for security, and obviously working with ADPAC over here, trying to get over there, same way the sisters moving from one place, you know, speak to that fact and what the sister was talking about as well. As
so
far
I'm gonna
as security,
say it like this first, brother. We don't try anything around here. We've been crossing the road a long time, and we always get to the other side. We're safe. We don't get run over at green lights or anything. So the first thing I'm going to say is he who pays the piper calls the tune. I'm going to digress and come back to this. He who pays the piper calls the tune. If you think that we are some 300 odd million in the diaspora and what our economic worth is, when we're using one tool, one financial tool to be moving money, we become a banking entity in and of ourselves. So to alleviate any concern about the freedom of money movement, we have it. Sable Ascent coin is here. From the 15th of June, we no longer need to utilize the Yiddish SWIFT system because we have our own cryptocurrency. And that cryptocurrency has an escrow facility as well. So we can't be ripped off. Any substantial purchases will be held in escrow, and then it's signed off by both sides. So now we have economic security and freedom of money movement. So when I start talking about our sovereignty, and we have a sovereign underwriter on the team as well. So we do have the ability to make any of our directors and trustees sovereign. No more citizen, no more national legislation restrictions, but moving as sovereigns of God on earth. So the whole point of this organization has been about putting systems in place that serve us as a sovereign people, thereby making us a protected group. Every single dollar you have, you'll be able to transport via blockchain and our cryptocurrency to the other side. And any recipient on the other side only needs the app. The first adoption we want is the businesses. The second adoption we want is the consumers, because if we have it as consumers in the West, the greatest import on the African continent is remittances. So we get exponential adoption. And the beauty of that is, it's a blue ocean strategy where overnight we make Western Union totally obsolete. Yeah. Just like you saw any cab company, the minute Uber came, totally obsolete. So we don't concern ourselves with the competition. We're not in the red ocean anymore. We're in the blue ocean with systems. So I'm just smiling and taking notes the whole time that you're talking. Because when you're talking about creating a global database, and we know that data is the new gold, we're putting in the CRM systems as the back end that connect all of us. And I'm also the business development manager of my brother's organization, Access UK, which is a youth employment and training charity. And we're in the middle of creating a tool now called the Road CEO, which is around business acumen, which is hundreds of hours of African diaspora and business people talking about the compartmentalized areas of business. So successful and experienced business people talking about their expertise in compartmentalized areas of business acumen. So that could be personnel management, it could be financial acumen. So your COO, your CFO, your CEO, all speaking about exactly what they do. So they're demystifying the whole process of business. But the minute you start talking, I'm thinking about working directly and creating that subscription app for those, which is long distance learning, which is affordable. We got to stop with the $1. We think too low in a poverty mindset, and there's an abundance of money. We spend money on nonsense. So for the price of a coffee, $2.99 is not too much. Now you get 100,000 subscribers as a base, and you're off to the races because you're raising revenue on a monthly basis. There's a win-win situation because they're getting intellectual capital from the tool. You're preparing them for where they're going to come. And what we're doing is we're systemizing everything that we're going to do. And through the feedback in the app, where it shows the rates of learning, you're also collecting all of the data. And what we're doing in that is exactly what our adversaries are doing. We start to track and map our people, but not for not to oppress them, but to serve them.
This is what leadership is. That very same data that oppresses us can serve us to grow our interests exponentially. So in some of the notes that I was taking, one of the things that we've been talking with Sable Ascent Coin is creating the digital ID. So moving into the future now, knowing what they're doing, because the Bank of England have been working on their cryptocurrency for 18 months, and they're going to fold cash and they're going to release their cryptocurrency. Now, that will completely enslave you because they'll know where you eat, sleep, defecate, and do everything else. Now, that comes in collaboration with facial recognition software, and your phone will betray you to CCTV in the street so they know where you are, what you spend, and what you do. Now, our alternatives, such as an African diaspora and operating system, are to free us. Our cryptocurrency is to maintain our freedom of money movement, which is one of the key things you need to be sovereign. So ADPAC's role is to build out systems as a national organization that can plug in as a turnkey system in any nation. So our role is to get the model right here. And in working with you, is to plug in all of the digital backend and work in a close collaboration to create systems so that we become automated, because we don't need to be pushing any pieces of paper. And when we're getting the greatest African minds globally, we can be working on hundreds of projects concurrently through one system. And that frees us to connect in a way like we never have. That's what 21st century Garveyism looks like. And I digress back to the first point that I made. He who pays the piper calls the tune. Now, it's no secret as to why 54 states of Africa all found themselves in China at the drop of a hat, or in Russia at the drop of a hat, or in England as the Commonwealth at the drop of a hat. It's based on that's where they perceive the money to be. Now, you mentioned the sixth region, the diaspora region. They are our delivery partners. And that is where we create the African Diaspora Development Bank. Now, this bank comes with no terms. And even in terms of 10% of profits in philanthropy, it's a win-win. Because when you're speaking to the leaders, they're the ones who deliver the hospital. They're the ones who deliver the university. And we build it to our spec to deliver our curriculum. And why can we deliver a curriculum that we've already designed? In Kay Johnston's entrepreneurial, from 3 to 18 years old, educational system, the Diamond Enterprise curriculum, because we pay. And because we pay, we can. Now, the beauty of what you're talking about with the Sankofa Reparations Association is that we are going to fully integrate. Repatriate Association. Yeah, is that we are going to fully integrate everything that is on the ground and everyone that we are, so that there is that new African mindset that comes about, which is Killmonger with compassion. Because what we needed was Killmonger with compassion. And obviously, we don't go into the security elements too much, but that will happen concurrently. And as I said, groups like the NFAC are perfectly in a position to train and grow out and create units for private security. And that goes across the board anywhere we create infrastructures. Chinese come with security. It just happens to be nefarious. Americans come with security. But as the African diaspora, we come with a security to represent the people on the ground. And that is to protect their sovereign rights in everything that we build out, in understanding that that will not be interrupted by anybody. And what we'll be able to do based on that is let every non-African know you are a guest, and it behooves you to think about the environment that you're moving in.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Listen,
all right. Can I just say, somebody asked which bank is Sankofa with? We're with a Black-owned bank, okay, in Washington D.C. So there's no way in the world. I told you everything is Black. So We're with Sankofa has its account with Industrial Bank, which is a historically Black-owned bank in Washington, D.C. I just wanted to answer that question. Go ahead.
Sorry, just to pick up on a point, Richie, just a very quick point that I wanted to make. And it's for everyone to know that irrespective of it being a Black bank, as you know, Sister Yaa, whenever you're working in the banking system, it is within the Rothschild's banking system and you're dealing with the SWIFT terminals. So it can still be frozen and it can be confiscated. Right. Any funds can be frozen and confiscated with no accountability. There is no recourse for your funds being frozen, and this is why we create the economic security through the coin. But don't let me cut you. Thank you.
Yeah. I know that to be true because I do know people who tried to move large sums of money, Black people, and their funds were just frozen and held up with no explanation, nothing. And there's literally, trying to move money from one country into this country or out of this country. And so, I know that is something that they can do to try to sabotage what we're doing. So I am seriously looking at crypto as an alternative. But I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead, Brother Richie.
No, I mean, I was going to hand over to Terry to ask a few questions because I want to come back to you, sister, in a bit and ask about your event. But all I wanted to say to the people, we're coming up to the hour point. Big up to everybody that's joined us. Again, I want everybody to appreciate this conversation because a lot of times we have philosophical and we theorize about certain things that we're trying to do or mind states that we should have. But as well as dealing with that side of the conversation, today's been a very practical conversation where a lot of real-time answers are coming out of this. So I think it's going to be worth you rewinding the tape and going back to really listen to what the brothers and sisters have said today, because they're really laying out a hard, fast plan for you to get up from wherever you are in the diaspora and start to initiate a real-time plan on how to move. And that's really important because a lot of the time with our people, we talk about these things a lot in positive ways, not even in negative ways, but the nuts and bolts of the plan never really get revealed, and just in this little small conversation so far, a lot has come out, so I implore people, go back, re-listen, look for the links of both the brother and sisters organization that will be in the description, look for more information and study that. As I said, I want to ask more about the event, but Riggsy, do you have anything you want to add at this point, brother?
Because this is where we've kind of gone into the nitty-gritty. Where I want to go to is the Exodus Alliance in forms of the organizations that you've mounted together to formulate the Exodus Alliance itself, because there is very strong people within that group that need a little bit of their information heard.
You want to know about it in terms of, okay. So the Exodus Alliance consists of 6 organizations. Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program is one. Each one of us has a role in this alliance, this mass exodus of our people. I told you what Sankofa's role is. The UNIACL basically will be assisting us in that role, as well as mobilizing its chapters across the globe to get the people, to disseminate the information to the people, because the UNIACL is global, right? So they have chapters all over that can disseminate information in different parts of the world. Even down in South America, they have UNIACL chapters. Al-Kibalon City, they are building a city, just like Akon is building one. This one is a diaspora city in Senegal. They already have the land. They already have the investors. Buildings are being put up under construction. That's happening as we speak. So they're going to help us in terms of acquiring place to put apartment buildings and things like that, so that we have places to house people as they enter. We have partners in Ghana that will be doing the same thing, scouting out land, helping us, secure the land for agriculture, food security, water security, all those things that people need. The state of the African diaspora we're going to put up embassies for diasporan people in these countries that will represent diaspora people to those governments. So we have issues as we return. We have representation. We have our own embassies in these countries that will represent our needs and our issues and our problems in those countries. So it's just, all of the everything. So one of the things that the Exodus Alliance wants to do is put in some infrastructure first before we begin to bring the people, which is acquiring the land, getting the farmers on the land. If you are anybody that has know about the sustainable growing, hydroponics, all these type of things, these type of skills that we need, people with alternative and renewable energy skills. We want to get those type people over on first as we're putting in the buildings and infrastructure, right? If you are you're an architect, you know how to do sustainable buildings, using what the earth provides, so that we create an environment that is not toxic to the people and to the land. So we want to get those people in to start putting up that infrastructure, to start putting those apartment buildings and to start building those embassies and things like that. And then once those things are in place, the food, the water security, all of those, the housing, then we can begin to bring the people and assist them in the way that Sankofa, that way that I described you, that Sankofa will be able to assist them. And then so it's a whole big, it's massive. It's a big it's a big movement. It's not something small, but and it's not something that just the 6 organizations can do alone. So one of the things we do want to do also is bring in partners like our good brother Dean Okai and his organization, what he's doing, because we do need to partner. While the alliance will be the 6 organizations, we will have partners that we work with, because we can't do everything. Like the brother said, we don't have the crypto, but his organization does. He has that. We don't have the paramilitary protection yet. That's another thing that we have to get with other people to help us, get those type of things on the ground where our people are, and to help the locals too. It's not just for us. When we go, we are going back to integrate into African society and African culture. So all these things that we're talking about bringing back will also going to be benefiting our brothers and sisters who are already on the continent as well. So anybody that wants to learn about the Exodus Alliance, they can go to www.sankofarepat.com, and there is a tab there that says Exodus Alliance. You click on it, you read that, and then there is a hyperlink at the bottom that will take you to Made in Africa project that will break down everything, the different organizations, everything, and what the alliance is all about, what we're trying to do. I saw somebody say, should we have put in the cryptocurrency first before we started collecting money? And I say, no, we have to start now. No. And the money is going straight into the bank. We're not moving it now. It's going to the bank. We're talking about what to do with it when it's over there. And we're working. That's something we can work with our brother on here with now. But no, we need to be collecting it now. We don't need to wait. We need to start collecting it now.
That's the true mindset of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So in terms of the event itself, the 2-day telethon, how how was it that you decided to do something like that? Because it's a phenomenal thing to do it in its physical form, but to actually think of just saying, you know what, I'm going to put this online and get people together. What made you say, you know what, I'm going to do this?
Okay. Well, originally, Sankofa had plans to do a city-to-city tour. Internationally, we wanted to start here in DC. We had an event, a 2-day event planned for May 16th and 17th, and then we were going to go to a different city and do the same thing. We wanted to do like educational African cultural awareness, because a lot of our people, quite frankly, don't even know they're African. Okay, so we wanted to go and just do an awareness and teach people, you know, about, and we wanted to dispel some of the misconceptions about Africa, because, you know, they don't put the beauty of our motherland on TV for people to see. It's always something negative. They want to pretend like out of the whole entire continent, which fits all of these other ones in it, that the whole continent is in some type of civil war and everybody's fighting and killing each other, and it's not true. So we have to really educate our people to say, you know, there is opportunity for you on the African continent. There is somewhere for you to go where you can be safe and be happy, and it's not all, you know, poverty, and it's not all death and destruction. You know what I mean? There's beautiful waterfalls, there are beautiful beaches, there are beautiful people who are so welcoming and kind and generous, and who want us to come home, and who ask all the time, why are you all staying there when this is happening to you? Why don't you come home? They ask this all the time. And so, however, you know, our people don't get exposed to Africa really over here. So we have to go out and spread the word. So that was the plan, was to do city to city tour and go to the UK and go down to South America. I was supposed to be in Colombia in June, you know, to talk to my people down there about the Sankofa repatriation system and let them know that we are working and we haven't forgotten about them, and we know what's happening to them there, and that somebody is trying to do something. So this was the purpose of it. But then COVID-19 basically shut us down. You know, and also there was supposed to be an event in Senegal, Made in Africa, had a whole week of people coming in from all over the world to speak and talk, and you know, we had a whole thing. This week I was supposed to be in Senegal for that. And so when COVID-19 happened, I said to Brother Rashad, RJ Mahdi, who is the founder of a Made in Africa project in Senegal and Al-Kibalan City, I said, you know, listen, we can still do it. We can just take the party online. Let's do a telethon. You know what I mean? So he said, you know, that's a good idea, sister. So we just sat down, and a lot of those people who were supposed to be in Senegal this week, we said, guys, let's go online with it and you know, bring the message of exodus and return to our people via the internet. So that's how that came about.
Excellent.
Okay, Richie, can you quickly speak, because we have a special guest coming in? So can you take over while I sort out the question?
That's all. Do your thing. Yeah, no, I was watching the whole thing. Obviously, we was with you the whole time. I didn't know when it was going to end, and I was knackered from the Africans Liberation Day event from the day before. But as soon as it opened, you started off with a couple British people, fight all day long. You know, the message was just powerful. You know what I'm saying? And as I said to the people at the beginning, the last few days have been really powerful in initiating that mindset and heart set change that's needed to start any sort of plan. Because again, you know, we can talk about all the nuts and bolts and details and whatever, but if you're not moved, if you're not spurred, if you don't know why you're doing something, you know, it's a problem. And I find a lot of time our movements don't happen because the crowd is reactionary. So we feel good when we're hearing stuff, but there's not enough meat on the bone. And that's what I liked about the telephone. You had people that covered all the bases and spoke not only to the practicalities, but again, to the mind state and the heart state. And, you know, when I saw you talking, I saw you particularly happy when, you know, you were speaking to some of the elders from Jamaica. I think you had an elder from Jamaica that came on. He was beautiful. He killed it. The sisters were at the beginning that you spoke to from the UK. I'm forgetting all their names now, but they both had a message of understanding the need for change and the need to understand that we're not operating in our right mind states and the restoration of the culture. So again, you know, for you, how important is it for that culture to be restored? Because again, we talk about it. And what does culture mean to you? Let me ask you that as well.
But you know, hold on, just put that on a little bit of a little pin on that. We have a special guest in the house.
All right.
And she, you know, we have to represent her as much as we can, you know. So she's coming into the house, and let's praise our honors to our queen Diambi. Greetings, queen.
Greetings. Wait, where's she going?
Greetings.
How are you, queen?
Greetings, everyone.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Okay.
Good to see you. Thank you for coming on.
Not only happy to see you, but so joyful to see the work that is being done by everyone. Everyone is taking the responsibility of wearing their crown, you know, and this is beautiful to see. All of you and all the people that were in the show yesterday. I'm Queen Diambi Kabatuswila Chiyemwata, Mukalinga Mukaji Wankashama of the Bakwaluntu people of Kasai, and Queen Mother of the African descendants of Brazil. And I'm so proud to be here today. And exactly, I will ask the same question as I always ask. If Terry is here, what's the question I'm going to ask before I even start speaking?
Have you done any libations?
I'm going to ask about, did we pour libation?
And I'm going to say this time around,
without fail. So I don't know. I don't have Terry telling me. Can anybody tell me if we poured libation today?
We didn't pour libation.
No.
No. This is a no-no.
We would appreciate it.
No. We pouring libation is all of you know, but for people maybe watching this, it's really a moment that we bring our focus together and we gather all our energies so that we can create a vortex within which we can really plug our life stream and our life force and nourish each other, and we can nourish our minds and our body and our souls to understanding what needs to be poured into the libation and what has to be taken away from it. So it's usually a very important ceremony that we do because we want to make sure that those symbols are really respected because water has a lot of meaning to it. And I know my elders here and my teachers here, you know exactly what I mean. So if you don't mind, I was assuming that we would have poured libation, but since we didn't, you're going to have to allow me just a minute for me to put my camera on pause, to bring some water and to pour quickly the libation, if I may, okay? So just allow me and excuse me for just 1 minute. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so now we can go back to that quick question if you want to discuss that before Queen comes back.
Yes,
well, culture is absolutely important because that's who you are. Your culture is, a part of who you are. What makes you, what makes you a people, and it also binds a people together. You know what I mean? Culture brings people together and it assists in their ability to work cooperatively. So absolutely. And so much of our African culture was taken away. For example, the fact that It should be automatic to us that we know to pour libations when we come together to do something. You know what I'm saying? That's culture. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of who we are as African people. And if you are on the African continent, then you know that when they do come together for things, they pour libations first. But we lost that. And so I'm glad that our queen has come and reminded us this, and hopefully going forward, we will all remember that this is something that we should be doing as African people.
My sister, Yaa, also want to stress the point that it's not everybody in Africa that remembers that. I think I was talking to you yesterday about the fact that in Africa, we are severely damaged as well, because the years of colonization, years of brutality, excessive brutality, and the years of colonization of brain dirtying has caused us to push away and try to cut ourselves from who we are. And even pouring libation is a symbol of gaining, our identity, of restoring our identity. Because you have a lot of people out there that look at this, even this simple ritual, as being something that is not supposed to be done, that is bad. So we have churches and other people foreign faith that are criticizing us, even though their own temples and churches use libation. But when we do it, we are the ones who created the process of libation. We are the ones who understood that we are only part of a whole. And as a part of a whole, what is really the great symbol for that? And this is why I'm going to just explain a little bit why water. I know most of the people who have worked with me, you guys that know exactly that I go to these tutorials because just like you, I had to learn that. I didn't grow up in the Congo where we were pouring libation. I remember just that it was a normal gesture to, before we ate or before we drank, we poured a little bit on the ground for the ancestors. That was really all I remember. And we were just doing it automatically. And even that has been now lost most of the places in Africa because churches have gotten in there and they criticize, and then now it's like you doing pacts with the devil, which is absolutely not the case. But then I had to learn all this, and this is what you were addressing, and I come in to piggyback on what you said about culture. Culture is not something static. Our ancestors, understood reality and studied the environment in which they were. They derived a lot of understanding from the observation and working with nature. And there is indeed, what is visible, but there's also what is invisible. Nature, what we see with our eye, with our senses, what we perceive with our senses, just such a small fraction of the reality that is out there. The one that we can sense with who we are, with the tool of our body, but there is even more beyond that we can understand or we can experience because we are made of that same reality. So why water? Why is water that is so important? Water is a sacred element. Is one of the 5 elements that we know on this plane. But it's a sacred element because water represents life. We are made of water. This entire planet is basically a drop of water. It's not dirt. It's almost 90% water. The planet. So this planet is a drop of water flying across the universe. Today, we're talking about COVID-19. Everybody's talking about droplets. Most lived our life never thinking that our words are imbued with water. So there is nothing that we do. We breathe out water. We are made of water. We are carried in the womb of our mother with water. So water really is a strong element that really reinforces our vital force. When we reconnect with it, when we take our mind and focus on water. So it's an energizer, it's a cleanser, it's a purifier. So that's the second most important thing. Water cleanse, water purify. And as we're coming into spaces where we're talking about our challenges and the plans that we have for the future, we have to cleanse a lot of the dirt that we have accumulated because of the experience that we have gone through. So a lot of healing has to happen. So cleansing is the symbolism of healing. Make anew. Water has this ability, and the water within us has the ability to do so. So when we connect with that principle, we also increase our potency to really regenerate ourselves, regenerate our bodies, regenerate our minds, regenerate our souls. We ignite this potency. The third symbol of water, it's very versatile, meaning that we are coming here together, gathered for what? Not just for the fun of it, just to talk so we can giggle and laugh. We are here because we are trying to find our path to peace and prosperity, to restore our people. Water is the element that will always find her path. There is no obstacle that water cannot circumvent, find a way in or out or around. And sometimes it can seep through a rock, one drop at a time, maybe 2,000 years, maybe 10,000 years, until it makes a hole, until it builds a wall. Whatever is in front of you, whatever obstacle is in front of you, water has enough flexibility and enough way to be malleable so that we can find a cohesion, because we are bringing people from different streams. You know, we all are from different streams, but yet again, when we pour each other, we pour each of and every single one of us into one body of water, we engage into seeing how we're going to make it work. Because once everybody drop in here, it's only one water. You cannot distinguish the drop that came from my sister Yao. You cannot distinguish the drop that came from my brother Dean and my sister Queen Diambi. You can only pull up a new drop that is made out of all of the other drops. So it also symbolizes unity. It doesn't symbolize unicity. We are all different. It symbolizes that we made a decision to come together. And the last symbol for me that we need to talk about when we pour libation is the symbol of the strength of water. Although you can break it apart droplets by droplets, yet again, nothing resists to water. Once a tsunami is up, everything that is in front of the water. So when water becomes tormented, when we have used and abused and we get tormented, water rebels and water can break everything. This is why you have cancer cells. This is those are all cells are made of water. So when we pour libation, that means that we have already made an agreement with each other that we're coming in here in this space to create a sacred space. And we have done experiences with this already. When we are gathering like a lot of people and you pour libation from the very beginning, you're going to see how everything is going to happen in a very orderly manner. Everybody's going to behave. Everybody's going to respect each other. Everybody's going to say what they have to say. You may have come with this message, and next thing you know, you'd say another message, because that's what was needed in those circumstances. And when you don't do it, you can see how chaos can happen. So that's why I tell my brothers and sisters, whenever we're going to do some things that is sacred, because what we are doing right now is sacred, those conversations are extremely important to have. And what we say will change the world. So we cannot take this lightly and thinking that we should jump in a conference call and so forth. Yeah, we can do that for chit-chatting about our neighbors, whatever, But when it comes about the faith of humanity, because the faith of our people is the faith of humanity, because we are the elder of this human group. And we have the faith of humanity is going to be decided between these conversations that we are having, 3 or 4 or 5 of us gathered together. So no matter how many you are, even if you are alone, when you're going to reflect or write on something or prepare for a speech that you're going to give somewhere, even if it's in private, pour libation. I do it in public. I poured libation in Davos, Switzerland, when I was at the WEF, at the World Economics Forum. I poured libation, and if I only tell you what happened, you will be like, it's amazing. The amount of healing that happened, you saw people from the entire planet hugging and dancing together and crying together, from China, from Africa, everywhere. There was so much healing happening that it was unbelievable. Even to me, I was like, okay, this is what the potency of our word, when it's accompanied with the right intention and the right rituals. So it's really a threefold. So that's for libation. And I'm going to an extensive explanation. You don't have to do that. See, I'm just doing it so that, you know, we can learn. And I know you guys know already, but people who are watching, so they understand what is libation and why do we do it. But when you gather, you can just pick up. Normally we do libation, we pour libation on the ground, okay? Because of course it symbolizes the ancestors. We are here because of them. And honoring ancestors is something that we're going to do with the ground. But our first ancestor is the source of life itself. Since we all come from the source of life, we all stream from life. This is who the first ancestor is. The first ancestor is the force from which emanate everything. Our Kemetic ancestor called it the Nun. So it's that primordial force is our first ancestor. So when we pour this, we don't pour it just for the grandpa or grandma or auntie or so. We pour it for all the life that came before us so that we can manifest in this form today. And it's also a show of appreciation that we are leaving arrogance behind. We are becoming humble to realize that we stand on some other people's shoulders. That's why we don't always call on just our bloodline, but we call also on all the teachers that have inspired us, all the people that have worked before us to allow us to be here today, the people who fought against the human trafficking from the African people. No matter who they are, we may not know them, but we giving honor because we recognizing that we are not made of our own self. We come from a community of our parents and our blood relatives that came before us, but also a community of people who worked to allow us to become who we are today. Our teachers, the doctors that healed us when we were sick, the people that made the roads, the people that thought about making an airplane, or all these ancestors, they have to be honored because without them, we wouldn't be here today. So that's why we pour libation. And it's a very simple process. We're supposed to pour it on the ground outside, but since we are inside, I have my clay pot that represents the earth. So I will just, very simple, just, you know, I give grace and I pour libation for all the ancestors, starting with the primordial ancestors, who is our first ancestor. I pour libation for all the ancestors that made it so that we are here today. I pour libation for all the ancestors who have inspired us. I pour libation for all the ancestors who fought so that we can be who we are today and we can have, you know, we can be present. I pour libation for all our blood relatives, all the grandfathers, the grandmothers, all these parents that have come before us and went through all the trials and tribulation and stood firm and stayed mighty and courageous so they can go through life to carry life. And here we are today. I pour libation to create that sacred space so that everything that needs to be said comes from a clean heart, comes from a clean mind, a clean behavior, and a clean words. I pour libation so that everybody can be open to receive the message that comes from the primordial ancestor so that we can create prosperity and peace on earth for the African people to reclaim their identity and strength so they can continue to be the guides of humanity as they have been from the longest time. And now I pour libation for that we are ready to talk and rejoice with our family here on this panel. Thank you.
Ashe.
Thank you very much for having me in your company. I'm very excited. I have to kind of like poise a little bit because I see all these beautiful faces of all the love of my lives that I have here. And now I have Sister Yaa, now one of my babies as well. I love to call people my babies because I have a spirit of grandmother, you know. And but it's really love. Love is unconditional love. And I'm very happy that we are having this discussion. My crowning was really about creating a bridge between the diaspora and Africa, because there is so many elements that needs to be addressed. And I think because I did ask, why me? Why can't you pick somebody that is more authentically African than I am? I'm kind of like a little bit of mix. I grew up in Africa. I grew up in Europe. I lived in America. Why don't you just pick somebody local who really knows and is so imbued with ashe from the ground? They were like, no, ancestors say it was about you. And I was like, so what now? What now? What am I going to do? Am I going to stay here in Dimbelenge, in my kingdom, and just, wait? And they were like, no. You go, you'll find your mission. My mission from the first time I came to the United States, I was 21 years old, was to, when I met the people from the United States, the African family that I had here, I realized that it was something amazing, something that I could have never imagined because I didn't have a clue of what was the African experience in the United States. All I knew about the United States and the UK and Jamaica and all was what I saw on TV. And it was either twofold. One, we were great at entertaining, singing, dancing, moving our butts, and then we were great with the ball or running to chase a medal. Or we were gangsters and dangerous and prostitutes and maids. So this is the image I grew up with when I grew up in Africa, because this is what we saw on TV. We saw these, TV shows like Starsky and Hutch and all this stuff, Kojak back in the days, you can situate me, that really portrayed either one or the other, but no in between, no regular people. Either you were a genius in only those fields of entertainment and sports, or you were a failure. So coming to the United States, meeting the African families that I met here, learning about the experience, because that also, we didn't know anything about what happened. The first time I knew what happened was when the series Ruth came out. I didn't know what happened to the African people when they came to America. Because guess what? I didn't even know that people from Africa came to America. They don't teach us that in school. When I grew up, they didn't teach us that because we came out of colonization. Until today, our books in schools in Africa are manufactured and written in Europe. Until this day. Okay? So whatever we know in Africa, whatever our kids know from school, from our education, all the manuals are made from Europe. That is one of the big reasons why the brother Gaddafi was a problem, because he had decided to fund a lot of new education material for the entire continent. And that wasn't sitting pretty, not only because of the content that would be printed, I'm sorry. Because of the content, see how quick I am? That's the martial art, by the way. But also because of the money, because the textbook industry is money making. So we have to understand a lot of what's going on in Africa. So my image of the Africans that were abroad were really very shallow. My understanding of the African experience outside of Africa was very shallow. And also, the brain dirtying process that go on is that we are not good enough. The Africans were just not good enough. And the only way we can get a chance to get close to what it is to be a human was to assimilate, meaning let go of everything that makes you African, including your skin color and your hair texture, everything. Leave the languages, traditional languages behind. Leave your way of dressing behind. So you go to a lot of African countries, men and women will go out of their way to have a three-piece suit, wear a wavy, long Brazilian, hair, to put color, bleach their skin. I know kids in Congo that don't speak Lingala. They don't speak a native language. They only speak French. And you know the worst thing? They don't speak a correct French because the parents are not native French speakers. So they prefer to have children who speak no language who have mastery of no language rather than speak a correct African language, because it's better if you only speak French or English, if you dress like a European, if you behave like a European, if you eat like a European, if you entertain yourself like a European. So that policy of assimilation started to happen once they decided to colonize the continent. So make no mistake, many people in Africa are completely brain dirtied. And we have a lot to do. We have, coming to the diaspora, you have a lot of work to do to voice the need to tell them how important it is to hold on to this culture. And this is something I learned on this side of the ocean. Because when I started to know the African families in the United States and other coming from Cuba or Jamaica or the Barbados, I started to realize that one of the things that kept their strength was because they held on to so much of their ancestral culture. That music, that food, that way of dancing, all this is not, those are not minute detail. It's just the same as water. In those drums, there is so much, and I'm not going to go into detail in that because you have to be initiated in some ways to understand the type of coding information that we have in our drumming. But this is what our ancestors did to preserve their psyche and not to lose, the sense of what it is to be a human being. So that's the things that I recovered. And when they were asking me, hey, where are you from? I was like, oh, I'm from Congo. Oh, yeah, you are from Congo? That's weird. How is it? And I realized I didn't really know much about Congo. I only knew about my neighborhood where I grew up, Kinshasa, the city life, modern city life. But I didn't know anything in depth about my tradition and my culture. My father did not teach me his native language, Chiluba, because he was ashamed that I would speak French with a Chiluba accent. So I speak Lingala because I grew up in Kinshasa, but I don't speak the Luba language. I'm learning it now. But my father would never spoke Lingala at home. My father only spoke French. So to recover our memory is a process that we do together. But the strongest vector is to make that desire happen is the children of the diaspora. Because you had to, you were, that was like almost like your secret weapon to keep your integrity, despite all the abuse that you went through. And you find common ground. And this is what is driving you today to say, enough is enough. We have to unite. Because you already have that in your genes. I was telling my sister yesterday about the fact that you are Africa United. Because in your blood, you have all these so-called tribes. You have found a way to make Africa a concept. Because before that, there's no such thing as Africa. And Africa comes from the mind of people like Marcus Garvey. So who is Marcus Garvey? But the collection of all the experience of all the Africans that were deported and poured into him. So this is one of your role, your most important role and your most important obligation, because not only you are driven, but also you have access to the information. We don't have access to this information in Africa. A lot of these websites that you have, we don't have access to. We don't have access to internet readily available like you guys have. Because you know what? Internet is very expensive. And most of the time when you can afford internet access, you can only pay for WhatsApp and Facebook. So this is barely the only information we have. So most of you guys are educators before anything. And the reason why I'm saying that and I'm stressing on this point is because when we prepare program and we design programs to go to Africa, we have to be very, very clear on what is their understanding of your experience and why is the desire there. You know that I've been in Africa and people laughing at me. They're like, look at you. You almost made it out of here. You were the United States. you were like a European. What happened to you for you to be yanked back into our savagery, wearing cowrie shells and leopard teeth? And because for them, becoming you, a Westerner, it's a progress. And what I'm doing by accepting the crown and accepting to sit on a traditional throne is a regression. So when you come from the United States or from the UK or Jamaica with your dreadlocks, and they look at you like, really? What are you guys looking for? We're trying to be you, and you're trying to be like our ancestors. We're trying to be anything but our ancestors. So we need to make sure that they understand that the reason why you kept your sanity and the reason why we are so strong today, despite that you are swimming against the current, is because your ancestor decided to make a pact to unite and to hold tight to what was the core values of what we have come from in Africa. And since they still have a lot of it, not a lot, but they have, not everything, but a lot of it still there intact, then you can encourage them to bring back the value and see value into their culture and their traditions. Because a lot of people don't. And the few that do, sometimes they are crooks. I have to say it, I'm a queen. We have crooks. They say, oh, look at the African American coming or the Jamaican guy coming to Africa. We're going to do a ooga booga, uju uju, and we're going to, pour some. No, some people have understand there is a stream of money to be made because of your desire to return. So we have to be very careful and very vigilant that it's not something that is only played on the surface, and we only play the drum as a folklore. Our culture is not folklore. Our culture is, those are elements, those are healing elements, and elements that can habilitate us to make sound, reflection, so we can yield to the right decisions as a community. But we have to be aware of the situation. And this is one of the things that I love to have this dialogue, because I didn't know anything about African experience besides in Africa. And I learned so much. I have families, I have sisters that are African-American sisters. They told me the story. I met their parents, I met their grandparents. I study, I listen, I sat by the feet of people like Dr. Benyo Akanan and Professor Smalls and Professor Jeffries and Dr. Kress. And I read all this stuff. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't be who I am today. When they called me for the throne, I would have overlooked it. I was a modern African. I was almost an evolved human being. Are you kidding me? PhDs and degrees, masters and all that stuff, dressing with my Chanel clothes and Gucci's and all that. If I didn't have these people, these ancestors, all these brave uncles and aunts and mothers and sisters and brothers like you, your parents, who fought so that we can keep this identity strong, like it's in Brazil, I wouldn't be who I am today. Sister, I told you yesterday, I became more African when I came to the United States than when I lived in Congo. It's true. This is an experience we have to talk about, because still today, Africa, they are going there to brain dirty us, to put us through a machine of a cleansing. And they used to have that already during the colonization. I speak about what they call the evolved. The evolved. My father was born during colonization. And they had in Belgium, in Congo that used to belong to Belgium. They had a department. That was a department, like education department, like the military. They had a department called the Department of the Evolved. The Department of the Evolved was to identify people that would accept to gain some privileges in order for them to leave their culture behind and then gain privileges. Like the Uncle Tom or whatever they explain, the coons and so forth. So they had a department that was monitoring that. Select few people, couple of people to do like menial work, but around the white Europeans, colonials, teach them some small skills, and then allow them to live separate from the savage that were their family and so forth. So they could live in separate neighborhoods. They had a different type of housing. Their children would go to the evolved schools, children. Their wife would have to cook a certain way. They could not speak native tongues anymore. They could not eat with their hands. They could not. It was insane. Basically, when you accepted that, you had a card, like a card, written on it, evolved. So you were not a regular black. You were not a regular African. You were not a savage African anymore. You were not a human being, but you were an evolved African. And everybody were aspiring to get that, because with evolved status, you could have a bicycle. Now the men could wear pants instead of wearing shorts, even if they were 70 years old. They would not call you boy anymore because you were evolved. You had right to some kind of property. Your kids could have a certain education. So to gain those privileges, you had to accept to surrender your traditions. And this mentality is still there today. When I go to Kinshasa, I go to visit my father. He has 3 younger children. None of them speaks Lingala correctly. None of them speaks Chiluba. And they don't even speak French correctly. And those are my brothers, born and raised in Kinshasa. And that's just an example. My father was supposed to be on the throne, not me. But when they proposed the throne to him, he said, I'm not doing this crazy, savage, traditional stuff. I don't have time for that. I'm a diplomat, I'm a politician, an ambassador, I'm a doctor of this and doctor of that, I'm a lawyer, I'm a this. It took me to go from the United States, thank God, to all these elders that helped me understand the wealth of the immaterial heritage that we have from our ancestors. For me to go and say, I accept. And to completely transform my life and to be this voice, because I have had this experience myself. I grew up in a home of evolved. And now I understand the value of the experience of my elders, of my African, elders, and all that have been accumulated, all the knowledge and wisdom accumulated over thousands of years. How do you think it makes me feel when they called African idiots all over from the time I was a child till I'm an adult in the university, until I discovered that mathematics, they're doing mathematics in Congo 25,000 years ago? How do you think it made me feel? Do you think they're teaching that to the kids in Congo? They don't tell them?
No, absolutely not.
25,000 years ago, we're doing mathematics, and they even invented a tool, a first calculator. 25,000 years ago. So we're not talking about 25,000 years ago. We're swinging from tree to tree. We're talking about we have civilization. We are thinking, mathematical thinking. We are designing things. We are organizing. We have kingdoms, and we have communities, and we are having this dialogue and engagement with nature, so that we progress or we develop without harming the environment. How did we do that for thousands and thousands of years? So all these things, they are in our books here. They are not in libraries in Congo. You're not going to find that even in the library in university. They're still doing training in university. They're training us to be like Mike, but not like us.
Absolutely.
Not like Kitenge. Not like Lumumba. They're training us to be like Mike, to be like John, to be like Smith. Even our names. In Congo, most people have a Christian name. I have my name Diambi thanks to Mobutu. When Mobutu came to power, he's like, that's enough. Why our kids are called Jack, Paul, Smith, and whatever? Put back the name, the authentic name that they had from their ancestors. And people complained about it. He was a dictator because of that. I'm not giving him a blessing as saying that he was not a dictator, but he wasn't a dictator by himself there. That's another discussion. But one thing he said, enough with this. We have to be proud of being who we are. We don't have to wear ties and suits and all. No. We can make our own. We are women.
Right.
Don't wear pants no more. That's enough. We don't want women with pants. We want women dressed in a respectful manner and beautiful women. So character. So that's how I get my name Diambi from. Because when I was born in Belgium, they didn't want to name a savage name. I could have my last name that was a savage name, Kabatuswila, but my first name, I need to be baptized. It has to be a Christian name. Diambi was not allowed on my birth certificate in Belgium. I had to wait to get to Congo 6 months later to get my name Diambi on my official documents. So we have to talk and exchange and talk about our experience just the same way as I learned about what happened here. I'm still learning about what happened here. I'm still in shock when I see that they're showing public lynching in loops of my brothers and my sons being assassinated in broad daylight in front of people filming. And I'm like, okay, I get it. You did a good job filming, but what about, why is it that phone was not thrown at the police, or why didn't you jump at the, I mean, what is it preventing? Why is it that we're still sitting and watching? What is going on? And then it's on a loop. That's public lynching right there. Because they should at least have the respect to blur the face of our brothers who are being lynched. If it was not a black man, every time this kind of incident, they would at least blur the face of the person out of respect for the dead. But they don't even do it. It's like we're killing a dog. So we have a long way to go. We have a lot to talk about. And this is what I've been doing for the past 4 years. I've been engaging every single community that I can to just have this small conversation. So you can ask me questions, I can ask you questions, and then we can identify our areas of strength, our resources, and then identify the areas where we have carences, where we have lacks, and where we have needs to be met. And then we can match them together. And then we can have all your beautiful minds with all the beautiful skills that you have accumulated. And what I do not want to do is to encourage anybody to do ghettos. I don't want you to go to Africa and have a city of the Americans or the city of the repatriated. That's going to be it. That was the experience already done when they did Liberia. And look at what happened in Liberia. How many people died from this experience? We have to do some things so that our communities heal together and become integrated into each other, and then we grow together. We cannot say, look, we're gonna have a city here for the people coming from the West, and it's gonna be amazing, nice, clean. You're gonna be, and then we have over there the bushes with all the savage. We have to be very mindful not to do that, because it's happened already. You have areas in Africa where we have some people like African American community in Ghana. They only live among African Americans, not fault of their own, but because the people in Ghana were not necessarily ready to receive them and understand why they would come back, why, and to understand how different are we from each other and how we have to work to create symbiosis again. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done. And I'm very honored when you bring me in this panel and you give me a few minutes, and I know I speak and because I know I have to go, but at least you can start reflecting on that. And everybody here know that you have my phone number. Any question, you can always call the Queen and say, Queen, Mama, tell me about this. What about that? What about this? We have to talk to each other. That's why I go to Brazil. That's why I go to Cuba. That's why I want to go to Haiti. That's why I want to go to Jamaica. That's why I want to go to, because the talking is not just the talking. The most important we did was the libation. When we are together and we do those rituals, we change the paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, the talking is important, but beyond that, what is most important is the rituals that we do, the drum circles that we do, the libation that we do, the recitation, like the poetry, it's so important because this transcends the mind. The gatekeepers, the ones who have been trained to make us feel like we were not worth it, they are still there, and it's a daily fight. I don't care who you are. You can look as African as you want. We still living under a Western paradigm. And the last thing I want to say is that we don't want to do things against people. It's not, I don't have any need to do anything against anyone, but we have to do things for ourselves. And when we do things for ourselves, it will benefit us, but it will also benefit the whole, because the whole is damaged because it's been polluted. Not just polluted because the air polluted, but polluted up here and polluted in the heart. So this work of cleansing ourselves is the beginning of cleansing the entire system. African understands system better than anybody else. We are the masters of system theory. We are the masters of fractal mathematics. So there is no one who knows how system function better than we do. So we know that we don't have to break the whole thing down to tear it up. Sometimes it's just a matter of changing one little thing. And that thing, it's ourselves. Something small. Change, know thyself, so we can restore thyself, and we will see how the whole system will change. But we cannot expect anybody else to come and do it for us. No one will show up to save no Africans. No one will show up.
No.
If they're not showing up for their own people, they will not show up for us. So it's not no hate there. It's all a lot of love out everywhere, but we gotta do for us first. And there we can be used for the entire Earth community. So this is what I wanted to share with you, my friends, today. Thank you.
Ashe.
Thank you, Queen.
Ashe, ashe, ashe.
Listen, that was powerful. I feel so blessed that the Queen's come down and touched the platform. She came in at the right time. That's the joke of it. Because we had talked about a few nuts and bolts, but we was just touching on the culture, and she just sealed it. She brought us home. So I can't thank her enough for that. Anybody out there in the chat room that's been listening, that's been feeling that, please show the smallest bit of like by hitting that like button for what you've heard today, because you've got a very complete package today. It's been beautiful. You know what I'm saying? It's like, woo, I like that. I like that. And that was off the cuff. Nobody knew that that was going to happen. So again, let me just shout out Brother Terry. Always making them power moves in the back. You understand? That's what I like to see. You understand? That's how we come together. Bam. You understand? So yeah, that was beautiful. I don't know if Riggs has anything else that he wants to ask, particularly because we're hitting the 2-hour mark. So
but you know what? I know today's a special day, and you know, we created this platform today, especially for Sister Yaa, to get her narrative and to get people to understand who she is and what she's about. So as I said, it's not about the time, but it's about us negotiating and tying the knots in the front and behind the scenes. So it's for us to ask and to have that dialogue, because Queen has given us that go ahead, and the power in that is for us to make sure that when we come away from this, we can able to reflect and able to make moves than just, you know, platforms of just talking. So, you know, as I go back to Sister Yaa, in forms of where we were talking about all the organizations coming together, now we're going to talk about the event. Richie, you said you wanted to ask questions about the event itself before I go in.
Well, the only thing I wanted to ask, because I heard you talking about what you was planning on doing, so I wanted to know, is this something that you've done before, or was this the first of its kind? And are there plans to obviously make it a continuous thing and on the same kind of level that you was talking initially?
Well, this is the first time because the disruption of, you know, COVID-19 brought into play. So this was just us you know, saying we're not going to let this moment go. We would just have to pivot and and use another platform rather than us coming together, because we can't even fly right now. But we had such a great reception and the people loved it. So we're going to have to do it again sometime. But to go, you know, I was with Brother RJ for the first 8 hours, you know, coming in and out, but I was there from the time he started until he finished, you know, and then the second day I did the whole 8 hours. So it's exhausting. I'm going to tell you right now, people think that, you know, it's something, but even he had to, the next day, you know, he had a migraine headache. He had to rest. As soon as I got off, I had to go lay down. I mean, it takes a lot out of you people think it's easy to sit and talk, you know, and do this for 8 hours straight, but it's not easy. But
and your energy levels was up. Let me just say that your energy levels was up. Like you wasn't even dropping. There was, every time you was on, you was ready and all right, next person. I commend you for that. I did see that.
Thank you. And so, but yeah, we definitely will do it again, because, you know, we have to keep spreading the word. The people loved it so much. The word that's going around now is epic. That was epic, you know. So we will definitely have to do it again and to do it for African Liberation Day was just something, you know, in and of itself. So I'm very proud that we were able to do that. And another thing that a lot of people are commenting on is that how proud they are that we these organizations were able to come together, that they've never seen you know, individual Black organizations come together around and come and go and cause like this. And a lot of people are saying that means so much to them, that we are showing our people that we need to work together, that we need to collaborate. It's not a competition. We're not in competition, because the goal for all of us is the freedom and liberation of our people. And so that one, we don't have to compete with each other for that. We work together for that.
So
110%.
In future references, where would you say you would like this to be? I've asked this question in that, you know, where would you like to be in, say, 5 to 10 years time with this organization?
In 5 to 10 years time, I would like to have those embassies in those countries, those state of the diaspora embassies. I would like to have moved 1 million families onto the continent of Africa and help them establish businesses. That's what I want to. That's what I want to see within 5 to 10 years. I want us to have accomplished this mission, and I believe it's fully possible, because, like our brother Dean said, we have the money. It's just a matter of people choosing where they want the money to go. But we have it. We have it. And I tell people all the time, and I'll say it here, Sister Yaa already got her land. Sister Yaa already has her businesses. Sister Yaa already, you know, house is under construction in Ghana. Sister Yaa is going to be in Ghana. Sister Yaa is going to be on the continent. My kids are going to be on the continent. My grandkids are. I just don't want to leave the rest of them, of my brothers and sisters who want to go, who need help. So I'm not doing this for me. Although I'm doing it for self-gratification. I'm doing it because I love Black people. I don't want to see us suffer. When I see things like what happened to our brother George in Minneapolis, Minnesota the other day, and our brother Avery a couple days before, and so many others, you know, this lady basically was trying to get our brother in New York lynched by the police. That's what she was trying to do by getting on the phone and calling and lying to the police, saying that she was being attacked by a Black man in the park, just flat out lying. And because she knows that the police kill Black people, police kill Black men. So the only logical conclusion that I can come to is she was trying to have our brother murdered. You know what I'm saying? By calling the police on him. So these type of things bother me emotionally when I see what's happening to our brothers and sisters in South America, in Brazil, in Colombia, and other parts in Mexico, how Black people are being, I internalize that. It affects me. And so while I know that I'm going to be on the continent, I just feel this obligation to help others, you know, like Harriet Tubman, get free. You know what I'm saying? Like I literally consider what I'm trying to do the new 21st century Underground Railroad. I'm trying to help Black people get free.
Yeah. So, Dean, in your reflection of what we've seen and heard today, I'll put it to you in the forms of from 5 to 10 years. How would you like it to be?
So, first of all, I'm aligned with every single point that Sister Yaa made in terms of us having African diaspora embassies, which are fully secure on all fronts. Also, to pay respect to what Queen Diambi said, I think it's very important that we understand that we're obligated to uphold, promote and preserve our culture because it's who we are. And everybody here is here for the reasons that we've gone through our own spiritual and mental reparations. And that is the component of reparations that we establish for ourselves. Now, is for us to put the tools in place and the personnel by working with those African psychologists who work from an African perspective to roll that out across our greater populations within the diaspora. And again, these are long distance learning tools so that we can have those psychological repairs, which are also spiritual, as we know. Is that we have a diaspora military force, which isn't beholden to any particular state, which is not only there in protection of the diaspora, but also in terms of Africans on the ground on the continent, so that we don't have situations like Libya, is to have our own currency, which is global, which is fully adopted by the diaspora. Thank you. There are so many notes that I've taken to lay down at this point. And I know there's a lot of points that are going to be beyond me. Thank you. And just to observe what Queen Diambi said about the water. As I take a shower every single day, my role as a project manager is to connect expertise, to close skills and knowledge gaps, and solve problems. And any challenge that I have, by the time I come out of the shower, that's no longer a challenge. There's something that happens where the synaptics are just connected for me as I have a shower. That is my relationship with the ancestors. And it is daily and it's systematic. That is where I go to receive my answers. And they come on a basis. There's no challenge that I have. I mean, none. And as I will call a personnel like you, Sister Yaa, that is now, we're going to create this systematic, which is digital, which is not only about repatriating, but repatriating in the correct spiritual way to create cohesion amongst an African people who don't know each other, to create a relationship that we don't have. So there's no reason that me and you should be meeting other than through our MI6, my MI6, Richie and Terry, who introduce us to the world. But there's a reason that their role is so important that creates that cohesion amongst us, because then we go on to put the nuts and bolts together that as a Pan-African family are going to serve the entire African diaspora. And I will say this in closing. I'm neither a converter of man, woman, or child. I speak to the early adopters. And then it's my role to collaborate with the influencers, and it's for those influencers to bring the masses by demonstration. Not because we're talking, but because we've created and established that on the ground, which is functional. And in a 10-year plan, we want a free national health service in every single African country where we are. that benefits the entire population of that country. We want drop-in centers, which are for prevention, in working with people like Steve and Sally and the Mariandina Foundation, in that we are building our immune systems before we are even getting sick. So in working with a matrix of delivery partners in every single area, is that we have international forums for media, so that somebody like Jay-Z would say, do you know what? For us to have Tidal Africa is even bigger than what we do with Tidal in the States, because we're serving an entertainment base of 1.5 billion. And what are we doing in America if half the planet is under 25 on the continent of Africa? Tidal Africa is a much more attractive commercial proposition. Now, based on adoption and subscription, what do you think is going to happen to your share options? So it's for a fully connected and integrated African diasporan solution base that goes across every single area of life. And it is us producing every single area of life that we consume. And that starts with blockchain and the African Diaspora Operating System. There it is.
Okay, Sister Yaa, as we're coming out of time, I would like you to give something to the public, to the family, for them to go home, do their little reflecting, do their little researching, how to find you, and everything else. If you like, I could pull up your website if you'd like me to. If you want to demonstrate through your website, or you can able to speak it if you want verbally.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to remember. It's and you can pull it up if you like. It's sankofarepat.com, www.sankofarepat.com, sankofarepat.com. The button to there's a donate button if you want to donate specifically to Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program, but the funds, whether you want to donate to Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program or the Exodus Alliance, will, be used towards the same thing, which is getting our people home and providing those services that they need on the ground. There's also a button if you want to donate directly to the Exodus Alliance. There's a button there, although I ask you for now to use the PayPal option, because Stripe is still doing their verification of our documents and bank and all that stuff. So that may be another day or two before they finish. But the people are absolutely been very receptive. I mean, the donations are coming in. That telethon really moved our people. Brother, you could tap that X, close out the pop-up there, because that's about the telethon. So I have to have them to remove that. So you can close out the pop-up there so that they can see the website. Okay. But yeah. And then, like I said, those are the flashed up there. Those are the members of the Alliance. If you tap on the Exodus Alliance tab page up at the top, it will take you to our announcement of the Alliance, and there's a hyperlink there that will take you to Made in Africa, where there's a whole write-up about the Exodus Alliance and the different organizations and what our roles will be and what we intend to do in terms of getting our people on the continent. So this is ongoing. You will be hearing a lot more of us. And like I said, I do believe we'll do more telethons in the future after we recuperate from this last 2 days. But definitely we will do some more. Particularly, once maybe we have Juneteenth for us in America. A lot of Africans in the diaspora may not know that June 19th is a African Liberation Day for us here in America, because this is after Emancipation Proclamation, a lot of Black people who were enslaved in America did not know that Lincoln had freed, and I say that with quotes, freed our people, and they were still, and of course the people in the South didn't tell them, so they still had them working, even though they were free. And trying to think which general it was, went into to tell the people in Texas and down south that no, y'all don't have to do this anymore, you're free, you know. And that was on June 19th, and at that time our people would say Juneteenth. So we celebrate to this day in America June 19th. We call it Juneteenth because this is when a lot of our brothers and sisters in the South found out that Lincoln had actually declared slavery and abolished the slavery some time before. So we may do something for Juneteenth. I'm not going to say it's going to be a whole 8 hours.
You're not committing. You're not committing.
No, I'm not just coming up out for this one. I can't commit to a whole 8 hours, but we'll do something for Juneteenth. But this will be ongoing, brother, because until we, you know, reach our financial goals, you know, we have to continue to come to the people and give them updates on how much has been raised and so on and so forth. So we will, you know, keep pushing, keep forging ahead. And hopefully you'll bring us back and we'll be able to give an update and let people know how much has been raised sometime in the future.
Okay. Most definitely. Most definitely. We want to be a part of the next. How about that?
Absolutely.
Directly, you get me? You got absolutely to add to your roster. So it's not 8 hours now, it's 10 hours. You might as well just make a 24-hour one and just done the long thing. You know, that's what you need now. The 24-hour run through all the different timelines. You're just pushing. You just push. That's the one. I'll put it out there. It's in the universe.
That's a good idea, but we would have to split that up. You know, I might have to go for a few hours and then somebody else pick up where I left off and go for a few hours and then somebody else pick up. And then we just tell everybody to switch from channel to channel to channel. When we finish over, that's a good idea, brother. Actually, I think about it. We tell people, okay, from these hours to this hour, we're going to be on this station. And when we close out, everybody move over to this one. And then we move over to this one. We might be able to work that out. I like it.
I'm telling you.
And you know what would be great? If we moved it, you know, from different parts of the world, like have somebody in the Caribbean do it, and have somebody in the UK do it, and have somebody here do it, and then have somebody in South America. That would be awesome. That's a good idea, actually.
No, definitely, because you had a whole range of people. You had the sister from Cartagena. You got all the links in the places, so it's just about internet connection, a laptop, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? This is the beauty. This way we got to use these tools accordingly while they're here, to bring this together. You know what I'm saying? And remember, Garvey, he brought together 7 million plus with no internet. So we got to definitely use these tools and take that mindset. Yeah, but again, just from myself, I'm so blessed to have you come on the platform. It's much appreciated. And to the public, if you didn't see the telethon, you can go back and see it. Sister, tell the people your YouTube channel name so they can find you as well.
Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program.
It's all the same word all the way through.
Awesome.
I'm a great person is that sometimes we have to acknowledge people behind the scenes. And as I see going through your website, I see you have staff. And I just want you to just show people, the people that are behind you, that are helping you do the work, so that people acknowledge it's not just you on your own, that you have actually got a team behind you doing the work itself.
Absolutely. In fact, you're not showing all of them. If you click show more, it'll drop down.
Okay.
And everybody is not even there, actually. But yeah, because I don't listen when you see these commercials, and we have a blog talk, Sankofa Repat blog talk. That the brother down in the bottom, Blue Dwayne, he's our media person. So when we put out press releases, and he runs our social media pages and all of that stuff, that's Brother Dwayne. And then we have Sister Karen there. She is the person over the sponsorship committee. So we have a sponsorship deck, but we were just about to start sending it out prior to COVID-19, and businesses started shutting down and stuff like that. But when I spoke with her, the committee is getting ready to rev back up and start sending out, to solicit donations from businesses and, from corporations and things like that. Brother Kofi Johnson, who manages the website itself and the content, and he makes some of the commercials when you see me post commercials and stuff like that. And then Sister Tasha, she is in charge. Well, she's over the committee that handles when we travel to book hotels and make the reservations and do all of that. But, right now, COVID-19, she's just waiting for us to get back up. So she was our liaison for that in terms of our city-to-city tour. And Sister Tina is the marketing director. And then Sister Rahima is the person over the cultural reintegration. This sister has been traveling to Africa for 20 plus years, and she's right now in Gambia. She's lived in Ghana. She's lived in Senegal. She's lived in Gambia. She speaks Wolof. She does traditional African dance. So she's over the cultural reintegration department. And Sister Akima there, she basically is my protocol officer. So she makes sure all the rest, everybody is, all the committee heads report to her and everything that they're doing. Now, keep in mind, all these people are volunteering their time and efforts. These brothers and sisters don't get paid. Everybody is just volunteering. And then we got Sister Treve, who is the accountant, chief of accounting, and then Brother Arundo, he is chief of operations on the ground. He's another brother that's doing a lot himself on the continent of Africa. He's got a lot going on in terms of his own personal projects. He knows how to do everything. This guy I call him a savant when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to making anything. He knows how to make soap. He knows how to make rum. He knows how to make cheese. He knows how to do everything. I never met anybody like this before in my life. But so he's the one that when we get people on the ground who want to get into agriculture and other projects like that, then he knows how to, in the farming, poultry farming, and he's had snail farms in Ghana, all types of things. His brother, he knows how to do it all. So that's some of them. Everybody's picture's not up there, but yeah.
Okay. So Dean, if you was the last,
yes, sir.
What would you want to say to the people out there?
So you can find us at adpac.net. You go to the membership, sign up for an expression of interest. All we want is your details so that we can send you information. And you've heard it. You understand the program. You've got a lot of information on the website. And what we're doing is connecting globally with the African diaspora to insert infrastructure, connect each other, and put systems in place. So that's adpac.net.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say to Sister Yaa, this is how powerful the ancestors have brought us here, because we actually connected on Facebook on the African diaspora page, and I messaged you from there, and we said that we would connect, but here we are today. So that was about 4 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah.
Which I got 3 profiles. Which one are you talking about?
I know.
Facebook always shut me down on the profile.
I've literally just gone into your personal profile now, 30 seconds ago. Okay. But when I saw the logo for the website, I realized that we're connected on one of them, and it was from the African diaspora region page.
Okay. Sister
right, I
Yaa,
will check it out.
if there was one last word that you would like to say to the public and the family, what would you like to say?
I would like to say that family,
Switch
the
the
time is
camera up,
now.
they can't-
Time is of the essence.
Yeah, sorry, they can't see you, sister.
I'm going to.
Huh? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to say that time is of the essence. We have to get serious about being serious. We got to get serious about our survival as a race of people. And we are the alliance is open to working with anybody who is working towards liberation of African people. So I want you, if you have an organization, if you have something you want to contribute or offer to this movement, feel free to contact me or Brother RJ Mahdi. His last name is spelled Mahdi. On Facebook, he's Rashad Mahdi. And I'm Awo Yaa Asantewaa on Facebook, AWOYAA Asantewaa. That's one of my profiles. Also on Facebook, my Facebook page is Sankofa Repatriation Assistance Program, so you can find me on there. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. The time is now. Please, I beseech you all to donate as little as $1 a month. Spread the word. Let everybody know that it's happening. We are taking up the mantle that Marcus Garvey left for us to get our people home. And we want and encourage you all to help us make it a reality.
Brother Rich, in your bringing everything together and your reflection, your last words. Brother Rich.
Yeah, sorry. I've just been privileged that everybody's come and touched the platform today. And give thanks for the sister and all your works that you're doing. Give thanks for knowing and being close with our brother Dean. You know what I'm saying? He really is a problem solver. I give thanks for my partner in crime, Mr. Riggs. You get me? Because again, you have to understand what he's doing behind the scenes. And what we've done together in the 3-4 years of doing Black Eyes TV. So again, this is a real thankful moment for me when I have these conversations with the elders and with my family. You understand? Really building with real purpose. You know what I'm saying? And most of all, again, we thank the Queen for gracing the platform on the off. And I tell everybody again, go back, rewatch it, because I guarantee you there's some things that the brother and the sister said that you may have missed. That is vital. So go back and really listen to those steps that they were talking about, because it's important when trying to transfer this information on to the next. You know what I'm saying? That we're clear and we're not vague, and you know what I'm saying? It doesn't just sound like a what if conversation. So please take in the information, like, share, subscribe, you know, the usual. Thanks for joining us. There will be more shows. We're going to keep Africa theme going. We're going to be doing a show, hopefully at the end, as well as our usual spots with a brother from the Sudan. So look out for that, and, you know, more information and all sorts. So yeah, big up. Nice one for joining us.
Okay. So before we head out, I'd like our guests to stay behind. And I'm going to say tomorrow, as tomorrow is Thursday, it's the relaxing time. This is where we have music artists performing live. Give them a platform which is called Total Exposure. So all different types of acts and artists, they come on, they showcase their performances. Friday, we have what we call a guy called Professor Konsu, who's going to give a lecture. Saturday, as Brother Rich has talked about the Sudan. And then on Sunday, we have our Sunday special, the International Sisters Circle, which is about the women, for the women, and about the women's movement. It's all about women. So if you're men, if you want to learn, you come on. But other than that, we butt out. Because it's about the women 100%. So in saying that, I hope you loved and got a good education, good information. Start to contribute, reflect. As I always say before we head out, spend black, believe in black, live black, see black, enjoy being black, and much more. Peace, love, and harmony. This is Terry Riggs, and I'm out.